focus on the intersection between technology and design, and the mission is to create life-changing impact and learning outcomes on a large scale.
We are facing a change in education on what we are learning and how we are learning. And that is the main drive of our solution. We understand that we have to reimagine education. We have to reimagine the way teachers are providing the right skills and knowledge to the students.
Welcome back to Wise on Air, the show where we talk to the world's leading minds on the future of education. My name is Bassem Hijazi, producer of the show. In this episode, we examine a question many educators continue to ask. Can AI enhance rather than replace human creativity and learning? And we thought it would be a good idea to speak to two Wise Prize finalists who are pioneering thoughtful AI integration in education. María Raad, founder and CEO of Fundación Reimagina from Chile, explains how her platform equips teachers with AI tools that address local challenges while maintaining the human connection. And from Armenia, Vahakn Papazian, director of product engineering at Tumo Center for Creative Technologies, shows how teenagers from underserved communities are building their own AI-powered learning paths. These innovators are demonstrating that when implemented thoughtfully, AI can amplify human potential rather than diminish it. So let's jump to Wise Program's lead and host of this episode, Niamh Whalen, to kick off this conversation.
Thank you. Hello, welcome to Wise on Air. I'm joined today by two of our Wise Prize finalists for the 2024-2025 cycle. I have both Aprendo Lab, represented by María Raad as part of Fundación Reimagina, and Vahakn Papazian from Tumo, which is driving the Tumo Path solution as part of the prize.
Hello.
Welcome.
Hi.
Maybe I can just start with a couple of sentences from each of you to summarize what it is that you're developing as part of this program on behalf of each of your organizations.
Okay. Thank you for having me and with this great partner. And in Aprendo Lab, what we are doing is to provide teachers with professional development experience that are personalized and fit to their needs. Because we understand that today teachers are facing a lot of challenges in terms of their development, but also the skills that the students need to thrive in this century or this society. And we want to bring them the content, the strategies, and the capacities to develop those skills in the students around Latin America.
That's great. So Tumo is an after-school program free of charge for teenagers, where we aim to put teenagers in charge of their own learning. So we ask the question, what would school look like if students could choose to go or not go? And we focus on the intersection between technology and design. And the mission is to create life-changing impact and learning outcomes on a large scale.
Great. I understand from both of you that personalization is something really core of both of these solutions. And I think the large question that we've all been facing across the education sector is also how we embed AI into what it is that we're doing and how we ensure that learners, teachers, parents, students still remain as part of the main consideration in what we are developing. So, Anna, I'll pose a question to you on, could you summarize the greatest learning through what you're building with the Aprendo Lab this far, and how have you ensured that AI can not only further drive what it is that you're developing, but also ensure to continue to support the teachers that you're working with?
Well, first of all, we are facing a change in education on what we are learning and how we are learning. And that is the main drive of our solution. We understand that we have to reimagine education. We have to reimagine the way teachers are providing the right skills and knowledge to the students. And to do that, we have to personalize that experience. They were prepared for a century that is not this one, and probably for students that are way far from their experience. So we have to match that necessity of the students with the capacities of the teachers. So we are using AI to do that, to understand that a teacher in Argentina in a rural area is so different from a teacher in Mexico in a urban area with violence. But they are facing the same kind of challenge, providing the right skills and knowledge to their children. So we are using AI to make this match between what they need and what we can offer. And we want to use AI as a driver of this change, but at the end, our teachers, the ones that are going to make the real change and sustainable change with the solution that Aprendo Lab is giving them.
So to serve as a tool rather than a replacement.
Absolutely. I don't think machines are going to replace teachers, are going to remodel, and teachers are going to rethink their role. They are already doing that. Teachers are facing a big challenge in terms of leaving out an idea of being the ones with all the information, the knowledge, and the answers, and more like a coach, like a model, someone that really can provide the ambience, the context for learners to really thrive. And that's the main reason why we are using AI, to help them and strengthen their capacities, not the other way around.
Yeah, and I guess it is both a challenge and a solution that is the case regardless of the context that we're considering, right? So I guess in that way I would pose the same question to you, Vahakn, on how you feel Tumo positions itself to also do the same.
Yeah, I think from day one, Tumo has really strived to give choice to our learners, to our teenagers. So they come to Tumo and they get to choose exactly what they want to learn. And that's something that doesn't really exist in the current educational system in Armenia, but also I would argue over, in the whole world. It's often a one-size-fits-all, or we try to make one-size-fits-all, where the students come to the classroom, there's one teacher and the teacher teaches the curriculum. Good teachers and teachers that have the time will try to, have one-on-one time with students and personalize. But at the end of the day, they're one person, and oftentimes they don't have the resources or the time to be able to devote that kind of personalization to each student all the time consistently. And this differs, across the world with class sizes and things like that. So at Tumo, you get to come and you get to choose exactly what you want to learn. And I think one of the biggest successes that we have, or one of the biggest successes I consider for Tumo, is when a student gets sent to Tumo by their parents to learn programming, for example, because they think that IT is, the best job in the industry. The student arrives, they take a photography class, they love it, and they get to choose to do photography. AI is just going to help us be able to unlock those opportunities for the students more than we would have otherwise. But the mission stays the same, to put the teenager in charge of their learning. We don't think that in-person learning is going to go away. It can be supplemented by online or at-home learning, but in-person learning with other students and with coaches that understand them is really important. Human coaches and teachers aren't going to go away. But if we can equip them with the tools to make their job more efficient, to give them the data that they need to be able to support the students in a much more personalized way, then that will be a huge success. And I think that's the direction that AI in education should go. And that's definitely the way that we are approaching it at Tumo. And I don't just mean, the content or the curriculum that they're doing, but also the modalities of how we engage with the student. Are they a visual learner? Do they like to read long text? Do they like project-based learning? Things like that we can really tailor with the advent of LLMs much more than we could before.
Yeah, and I think, speaking with you both, what really resonates with us at WISE is the fact that we're all working towards solutions that, of course, can better enable learning and improve learning outcomes with the use of technology, but also making sure that the people who are there to facilitate and benefit from these opportunities still remain as a centre. I think that is a really strong message from you both. Anna, I'd love to know a little on what you have seen in terms of uptake from teachers in what it is that Fundación Reimagina actually provides, both in terms of how they rework to construct a lesson, maybe improve an assessment metric. How do you think that the facilitation of technology can both perhaps improve that, but also may in some stages serve as a limitation when we consider marginalized areas, for example?
I think you make a very strong point about how hybrid education is going to be. And not only in terms of technology, but also in terms of mixing the methodologies, the capacities, the places where we are learning today and we are going to learn. So with this hybrid or mixed idea of education, what we are seeing from teachers is the necessity to have more access to new methodologies, to new ways of teaching and assuring learning, because we are using technology, but we are also using books. We are having a class with 30 people or maybe 50 students. It depends where you are. So you're going to always need a differentiation, and that is something that Aprendo Lab is looking for. So the idea of one size fits all for education is not working, and that's why we have a decade of bad improvements in terms of knowledge and learnings. And we are going to that specific challenge. To do that, we understand that in Latin America, we have a huge gap in terms of accessibility to technology, and we need to provide different ways of helping or empowering teachers. And that means to provide videos, PDF, online materials, but also offline. So I think that is there is the innovation, the ability to understand the context. But at the end, what we are doing in Aprendo Lab is to remain in the main space of change, which is the relationship, and this is more a pedagogical approach that we have, the relationship between the teacher or the mentor, the student, and the content. That's what we call the core instruction or instructional core. So everything that we work with the teachers are based on this idea that they are not providing information, they are developing a relationship with the students. They are developing a new way of understanding what is happening to the students in terms of social and emotional learning, but also in terms of access to technology, and also related to how to read and how to perform in math. So basically what Aprendo Lab is doing is to provide the right information, resources, strategies for teachers according to their needs in this hybrid context.
Yes, and you raise a really critical point on the contextualization element, because I do think it's a consideration for many, if not all, innovators, to make sure that what it is that we're creating and designing actually hits home in terms of who we're trying to reach as beneficiaries. And Vahakn, I'd love to know a little on what Tumo takes into consideration, and given that you have operations in different parts of the world, what are the kind of key components, especially when we're looking at utilising technology for creative learning purposes in this case? What does that actually look like in practice, and what do you consider to make sure that you are relevant and remain up to date also with the audiences, with the teenagers that you work with?
Yeah, I think one of the main things that we take into consideration is accessibility. So one of our goals in Armenia is to have a Tumo center 15 to 20 minutes away from every teenager in the entire country. This doesn't mean we're going to focus on the big cities and try to get as many students as we can. This means we're going to try to reach every single student. And in order to do that, we have to come up with some creative solutions, because it's not easy to reach every single teenager. So we've developed something called the Tumo box, which is not a big building, but it's a shipping container that we have retrofitted to have computers in it and be like a mini classroom that we can deploy very strategically in more rural areas to give access and to make sure that we are not leaving any teenagers behind, because we think that with the the progress of technology, especially with AI, which I think is a transformative technology, we want to decrease the gap or make the gap smaller rather than larger. And there's a real danger of already marginalized communities becoming even more marginalized because they don't have access to this technology that is going to be required in the job market, that is going to make things more efficient. And there's also dangers with this technology, and people need to be aware of these dangers and be able to protect themselves. And so if we don't have that accessibility for everyone, we are doing a disservice to our teenagers. And our goal is to make that gap smaller, not larger. And so accessibility is one of the main ones. The second one is it's our responsibility to remain up to date on all of the technological changes and what's going on and how things are changing and how we are going to keep teaching. That means supporting the teacher, but it also means understanding the students. So I give this example that when Tumo opened, 15 years ago, and we used to make a little like long form videos that students used to watch and they used to love them. Now students don't watch long form videos anymore. Half of them don't click on it, and the other half that do stop midway through. And so we really need to understand where students are and meet them there. But we also need to understand what the technology is and meet the students and the technology at that new intersection. And that intersection keeps changing, right? So the example I like to give is painters used to paint these paintings that were incredibly accurate, like photorealistic. And then cameras were invented, and suddenly that is less valuable. But art didn't go away. People just changed what valuable or what creativity meant. And the Picassos came around, or the Impressionists, the Monets came around. And so I expect with the advent of AI, we're not going to get rid of art or get rid of creativity. We're just going to redefine what that means. And it's our responsibility to foster that new creativity. I don't think we're going to be the ones to invent it. I think it's going to be the next generation, but we need to enable them to do that. And in order to do that, we have to understand, what the change is and be able to express it to them.
Maybe I'll move to pose a closing question with you both. So from a macro lens, if we're thinking about your main user as a teacher, which directly impacts student to learner, Anna, with Fundación Reimagina, and Vahakn at Tumo, also how you cater your solutions to teenagers, but that you also look to enable facilitators and coaches that you also have as part of the solution. What would you say to those that are involved directly with the beneficiaries that you serve, a parent, a peer, a coach? What are the ways that they can also better equip how the beneficiary, how the learner engages with your solution? Is there anything that we can be doing from a community point of view to help beneficiaries better navigate their learning experience in the phase of this unknown with technology and AI that we're currently in the midst of?
Well, the first idea that came to my mind is that education is everybody's challenge. So it's not only a school objective or a teacher's responsibility. Of course, it's the main responsibility of the teachers, but we need parents, we need the community, we need the media, and we need also the extended family to be involved. Now we have the opportunity to really understand that education happens everywhere, not only inside the classroom. And this hybrid idea of being inside the classroom, but also at home or at community center or at Tumo center is also part of the journey. And the journey of learning today needs to be very aware of the challenge that children are having, but also the opportunities. And we have to balance that because we are in a moment redefining education when we have a lot of opportunities to shorten the gap between who has access and who has not. But also we have to be aware of those challenges in terms, for example, the use of screens. That doesn't mean that we are not going to use screens inside the classroom, but we're going to use in the right way, or use AI as a educational solution or partner, because you can have a tutor with AI or a chatbot, but you have to educate that technology as well. So for me, it's a call to action to understand that education is in a very important point when we need to redefine and to be more open to the opportunities that children are having, and be brave and embrace these challenges. We cannot close the door of the school and say anything is happening, or whatever is happening is outside the classroom and we don't want them to get in. And teachers need to learn how to do that, because they are also, in the majority, at least in Latin America, aware. Sometimes they fear of these challenges, and the only way we can really make sure that we embrace these opportunities is to educate, to open the opportunities, to talk about it, to make it more familiar with the information. And in that, with that on mind, I think parents are absolutely relevant, the community and teachers, and that is part of when I mentioned you about this relationship between teachers and students and what is happening with learning process. Of course, the relationship with the parents and the communities are also important for the development of the teachers. So my vision is to empower teachers as a really turning point, or as really with a role to synthesize all this vision of challenge and change.
Does that echo your sentiment?
Absolutely. And I think what I was going to say is I want the community, parents, teachers, students to demand more. Just always demand more. I think everyone has an education story from their past that they're inspired by, a teacher that they remember, or a course that they took, or something that they did that they attribute their current self to. And I think what we are trying to do is create educational systems, resources for teachers, mentors that we wanted when we were children and teenagers, and we want for our kids. And so I want the community and teachers and students and parents to just demand more, because there's a lot more to give. I don't understand why teachers are not the highest compensated, profession, because what they do is incredibly hard and incredibly important. Education is the foundation for everything that happens. And there's always more to give. I mean, you see all the advancements that we're making with, in Silicon Valley and tech all across the world. We go to space, we're trying to go to Mars. We can do better with education on Earth. And I think it's projects like Aprendo Labs and Tumo that are at the forefront of this. And we want to bring along the community and the people that we are trying to help and create those opportunities that we wanted and we want for our kids. Yeah.
Yes, and I guess that's our role as well in this space of generating impact and looking to influence more positive learning outcomes, that each of us have a specific role to play, but also to make sure that those we are trying to serve and better support are taken with us on that exact journey that you mentioned. I guess that summarizes our discussion for today. Thanks so much for taking the time, and we're looking forward to seeing how both of your solutions will continue as part of the WISE Prize program, and look forward to seeing what's in store.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us, and thank you to WISE for really catalyzing all of these amazing projects. I think we were all toiling away, but WISE really gives us the resources and the network to be able to maximize our impact.
Yeah, thank you for having us and for the opportunity to have a process of learning, a real journey for us as an organization with our partners as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.